Daisy should be here in a second. I'm not sure who's. There comes Daisy James. I'm not sure who's teaching here this tonight.
It's supposed to be Ken from Tennessee or Steve, too. Since Ricky's teaching on Sunday morning now.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do it.
You probably did. Okay, I'm not worried about it. Good to see everyone here tonight. That mist is a little cool. It's kind of funny. We left. We had to go to Fort Smith today after lunch, and it was nice. And it was okay, warm, you know. And then you got Fort Smith, and there was just like this mist, and it just was really cool. And then came back home, and somewhere around Washburn, you passed through the mist and the light was there, and it was 8 degrees warmer on the other side of the mist, and that finally caught up with us here. So anyway, it's been kind of dreary today, but not too bad for an end of February day. Our February has been fairly well for this year as far as it goes. Not too bad. A decent amount of rain, but not like what they had in some parts of Tennessee. They really took a wallop on some of that rain. And, so we got a lot, but not like that. So it's good to see. I know this last weekend was the weekend of CYC, and there was actually a few of the congregations that I know of that got separated from the event center is for a day because the flooding was so extreme they couldn't cross the little Pigeon Forge river, and so they ran into some issues. And but anyway, so we weren't there, so we didn't have to worry about that. Anything we need to make mention of tonight? I know. I assume that Jerry, I guess, still healing up, and I think he's been. There's a lot of people helping out to take care of things, so I think that's good. Anything else we need to make mention of tonight? Huh? Not yet.
Yeah, Rick was in.
Oh, Rick did, okay.
Ricky's in there.
Good evening, fellas.
No, Rick didn't.
No, Rick didn't go in there, he's over here.
You know who's supposed to be in the team room tonight? Okay.
It's me or Cassie or Ken.
They need you.
Busy making the hay. Okay. Anything we need to make use of tonight? Well, that's good. Seems like the last month or so, something's been, going on as far as pretty major, and so obviously continue to keep Evelyn in prayers. I know it's a difficult time for her. Let's have a prayer that we're beginning of lives. Yes.
They were telling us last night that Steve's stepdad is in the hospital, and he was on life support,
Oh, really?
so,
I heard that. You know, Jordan, anything on that?
what's his name?
He was doing better.
Where's he at?
I'm not sure.
They said
My mom
Sparks,
was there.
I think.
She got back earlier today, but he was sitting up and then.
Oh, good, that's good, okay. That's good. Let's have a prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much this evening. We truly appreciate those that have a heart to learn more about your word that are gathered here tonight. We especially appreciate all the young that are here and the parents that have brought them. We ask that you continue to be with Jerry Evans as he continues to heal. We're so thankful and blessed those that are willing to help out. We ask that you continue to be with Evelyn Adams as she has had so much grief thrust upon her. Help her to turn to you and that you may comfort her as only you can. We ask that you be with Steve's stepfather and continue to, it sounds like things are better. Continue to help him to heal up, and Lord, may you be with the doctors and nurses, and may he be able to go home soon. We pray that you be with us tonight, that we do things in accordance to your will. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Well, we've been, if you want to go and turn to 1 Samuel 24. Of course, in 23, we see David is called by the Lord to go to Keilah to save those people out of the hands of the Philistines. And the men of David, the 600 that they're going to be at times called the mighty men of David, mighty men of valor, they tell David, I don't think this is a good idea. This is in Judah and, this is in, Israel, and Saul's going to kill you. Maybe we should do this. So he asked the Lord again, but said, no, go ahead, I've delivered you from the Philistines. But of course, after that, once again, David goes back, and the Lord tells him, he asks the Lord, will these people give me up to Saul if he comes? Because they heard Saul was on his way. And the Lord said, yeah, they'll give you up. So they had to flee again. They go to the strong boat of En-Gedi. And Saul basically has to go back home for a while. Saul is doing more than wanting to pursue him. What does Saul want to do, David? Kill him. And he's already countless times tried to kill him. Now bear in mind, Saul is the king of Israel. What wrong has David done? He's done no wrong. In fact, he was Saul's leading general. Saul is David's, what relationship does Saul have with David? As far as family-wise. He's his father-in-law. Could you imagine that? I've always got along with my in-laws, but could you imagine your father-in-law wanting to kill you? And do more than just want to, actually throw spears at you and chase you and do other things. I mean, literally want to kill you. I like that Kevin looked over at Dale just a minute. I don't think you have to look over your shoulder, but can you imagine that? Of all things, a king that's supposed to be uphold righteousness and his very own father, he's the one that gave him. In fact, he's also the father of David's very best friend, Jonathan. And yet he wants to kill him. Now, someone that's tried to kill you multiple times. I don't know, maybe some of you might have experienced, the hands of a bully when you were in, elementary school or something like that. Or maybe some of you had someone that was your rival that was always trying to outdo you. Or maybe you got beat up by some kid, at some point in time. Maybe someone just really had it out for you. Maybe you wouldn't have a job where someone was always doing bad things to you. How do you react to that? What would your reaction be? What if you had a chance to really put them in their place? And a lot of times we don't ever get that opportunity, but what do you do? I think that's when you really test to see what kind of person you are. What are you made of? What kind of godly influence you have. When you have a chance to turn the tables to someone that's been your mortal enemy, maybe even just figure, what do you do in that circumstance? And we're going to see what David does. And of course, this is not going to be the only time this happens. You're going to see this another couple chapters over, but this one is very important, I think. And 1 Samuel 24:1-7 says, when Saul returned from following the Philistines, he was told, behold, David's in the wilderness of En-Gedi. So, obviously the king, he's got people that, come to him all the time. Plus, you saw, what did Saul do previously when David had just went among the priests at Nob? What did Saul do to them?
He wiped out the rest of the priests.
He killed them all, except for one that escaped. But anyway, he killed them. So my guess is now when someone sees David, I'm sure that story, that account has been told, when someone sees David anywhere, guess what? They go to Saul and say, Saul, he's over there. And so sure enough, they said David's in the wilderness of En-Gedi. Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel. Now these were chosen men, these were the best of his soldiers. How many did David have with him? 600. So still quite a bit more, and these would have been also really good military people. So as far as just in numbers, he had definitely the advantage there. And he went to seek David and his men in front of the wild goats rock. And he came to the sheepfolds by the way, and where there was a cave, and Saul went in to relieve himself. Now David and his men were sitting in the innermost parts of the cave. And the men of David said to him, Here is the day of which the Lord said to you, Behold, I will give your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it shall seem good to you. Then David arose and stealthily cut off a corner of Saul's robe. And afterward David's heart struck him, because he had cut off a corner of Saul's robe. Now, they're in this cave, and it must have been a big cave. And Saul and his men, they come into this part of the cave, and basically Saul is tired. He's going to take him a nap, and they're going to rest. So he takes a nap. And lo and behold, it just happened to be, once again, the providence of God, it happened to be the very same cave where David and his men were, except they were a little bit farther into it, where it's a little dark. Now, some of you probably been to Silver Dollar City. How many of y'all been to Silver Dollar City? How many of y'all been in the cave? Okay. Did they turn a lot of times you go to a certain part, they turn the lights out. Did they do that to y'all? What can you see when they turn the lights out? Nothing. So, maybe if you've ever been in a cave, you might say, how is this possible? But if you've ever been in a big enough cave, and you go into a place and you turn off all the lights and it's gone. There's nothing. And so it was black, and so that's where David and his men were. And so they just waited. And lo and behold, Saul and his men, they fell asleep. And David's men, you can imagine they were just probably grinning from ear to ear. And they're like, well, this is over tonight, Here's the day of the Lord. He said to you, Behold, I will give you even in your hand. And so David rose up, cut off a corner of Saul's robe. Notice it bothered him, though he had even done that. Perhaps he was going to do more. Perhaps he was going to keep this as a trophy piece, kind of like he'd already kept a trophy, when he had cut off Goliath's head and other things, and he kept some of the armor and stuff, and of course we know that he wound up getting the sword back as well. But anyway, we don't know, but whatever it is, his heart bothered him. The men were all doing fine, let's do it. Get this over with. We won't have to fear for our lives anymore. But David's heart, your conscience, I guess would be a better way by how we describe this. How reliable is your conscience?
Pretty true to your convictions.
Okay, it is true to your convictions. And however it's been trained is generally how it works. Now, if you've been taught, you have, prepared yourself in the right way, you've studied the Bible, and you are instilled with the morality that God has given you, your conscience will bother you when you do something that you know is wrong. However, if you get conditioned on the ways of the world, then your conscience may not bother you. I think there's two distinctions here. Do you think if the tables had been turned, Saul would have hesitated at the least? His conscience was already gone from him in that regard. It wouldn't have bothered him, even though he knew what was right as well. But we see David. David is still a man of God. David, his faith, his conscience would not allow him to do anything else. And so in verse 6 it says, he said to his men, the Lord forbid that I should do this to my Lord, the Lord's anointed, to put out my hand against him, seeing he is the Lord's anointed. So David persuaded his men with these words and did not permit them to attack Saul. And Saul rose up and left the cave and went his way. David said, no, we're not going to do this. This is the Lord's anointed. Now, how literally is Saul the Lord's anointed? What was he anointed to be?
The first king.
First king. And of course it was Samuel, the prophet of God, that came and anointed him king. By the way, this word, this anointed, is a word we're a little bit familiar with in the New Testament. Basically this anointed process, the anointed one, that is the Hebrew form of that is the Messiah, the Greek form of that is Christ. And we see that Jesus is the very special anointed one of God. But we see that Saul was the Lord's anointed. Now David had also been anointed by the Lord, but it wasn't yet his time, because the Lord had not spoken about that. Now, we can turn to some New Testament passages, and we're going to, but you have to bear in mind, David, the time he's living, he would have had no New Testament passages, would he, to go by. Now, it is true that the Lord sometimes would speak to him, as we've already seen. David was inspired at times to write different scripture. But for the most part, David's, as far as his framework, what his faith would have been based on is the law of Moses. So what would it say about something like this? Well, Deuteronomy 30 is familiar to you because it's repeated at least 2 times in the New Testament. But Deuteronomy 32, 35 through 36, there the law says, vengeance is mine, speaking of the Lord himself, for in recompense, for the time when their foot shall slip, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and their doom comes swiftly. For the Lord will vindicate his people and have compassion on his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is none remaining bond or free. So vengeance is the Lord's. It had been easy for David to have done this. It would have been over. It would have been easier on him. But it wasn't what the Lord had decided yet. And we're going to see the Lord, basically Saul is going to die in battle. And basically it's going to be at the time that the Lord chooses. But it wasn't for David to decide this. If David had done this, what would it have been? Not only would it have been taking the life of the Lord's anointed, but what would it have been? Murder. You say, well, he tried to kill him in times past, but he wasn't at that time, was he? It would have been murder. And so as a result, David did not. Now, I want to tell you, it had to have been tough and to a degree to not do this, because his men said, go ahead and do it. But you notice the respect the men have for David? We'll talk about a leader sometime, a leader that basically, you know, the people go to and say, I don't know that we need to go to Galilee, that's dangerous. And so David even asked the Lord again, the Lord said, yeah, go. And so the Lord, David said, let's go. And guess what? His men went. And here you can imagine these people would have taken personal. David was their leader. David was their man. David was a good man. David was a righteous man. And here's someone that is trying to constantly kill him. And he's killed all these priests. And those that were faithful to Israel, faithful to God, that had to really rub them the wrong way. Yeah, David said, no, we're going to leave him alone. In Hebrews, I want to just parallel this. David said, I can't do this in essence. It's the Lord's anointing. Vengeance is Lord. It's up to the Lord. The Lord anointed him. It's up to the Lord to decide what to do. Hebrews 10:28 through 31, another passage in the New Testament that repeats this at one point. But I want us to look at this. Of course, it goes on, talks about the not forsaking the assembly, basically not forsaking coming together as a church. And then it talks about willful sin. And then it says in verse 28, anyone who has set aside the law of Moses dies without mercy on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. How much worse punishment do you think will be deserved by the one who has spurned the Son of God and has profaned the blood of the covenant by which he was sanctified and has outraged the Spirit of grace? For we know him who said, vengeance is mine, I will repay, and again the Lord will judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall in the hands of the living God. Now, I love this way this is encapsulated because, what we see is this applies to us today. And so, we don't have a king that's chasing us, but, who knows what it may be. There are people that are just anti-Christianity today. And we see them on the media, we see some even, and, I know recently, I think it was 44 senators basically voted against having a bill that said if a baby is born because of a botched abortion, that we're not going to make it a criminal act if that doctor or attending physician or whoever it may be, he can just let it die. You don't have to do anything. That baby's born alive. And I don't know anyone with half a sense of common sense and half a sense of what morality should be and of what innocent life is, and yet, we can get mad and we can get all upset, and that's good if we want to try to do things within the rules and laws of our government to try to change that situation. That's fine. But ultimately, guess what? God's going to take care of you. They don't have to answer to us. Oh, we get outraged, I guess, but it really doesn't matter much whether we're outraged or not, because even if no one was outraged, even if 99 senators said, no, be okay, it doesn't matter, because vengeance is the Lord. And I want to tell you, back to the day of the law of Moses, a lot of people talk about, God was different back then. He struck people down, he did this and did that. I want to tell you, God is still the same. And so those that think about this, those that did things that were wrong about them, the punishments they faced oftentimes, what about those that spurn the Son of God? Those that refuse to obey Him, those that refuse to accept Him, acknowledge Him as the Son of God, those that just refuse the morality that He set forth in Scripture, what punishment awaits them? And so we should take comfort in that, but we should also know that we don't have to mete out any vengeance on these people. In verse 8, it says, afterward David also arose and went out of the cave and called after Saul. So Saul and them, they left, and then David comes out of the cave. He's on the high spot, he's on high ground, he's a little safe to a degree, but he says, my Lord the King. And when Saul looked behind him, David bowed with his face to the earth and paid homage. And David said to Saul, why do you listen to the words of men who say, behold, David seeks you harm? Behold, this day your eyes have seen how the Lord gave you today my hand in the cave. And some told me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, I will not put up my hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. See, my father. Literally, father-in-law, right? See, my father, see the corner of your robe in my hand. For by the fact that I cut off the corner of your robe and did not kill you, you may know and see that there is no wrong or treason in my hands. I have not sinned against you, though you hunt my life to take. David calls him out. He wants Saul to understand the circumstance that he had him in. He wants him to understand that he has done him nothing wrong. He wants him to understand that, Saul, you're listening to the words of men. How many days listen to the words of men? I'll tell you, I'll do you wrong here. In verse 12, David says, may the Lord judge between me and you. May the Lord avenge me against you, but my hand shall not be against you. As the proverb of the ancient said, out of the wicked comes wickedness, but my hand shall not be against you. After whom has the king of Israel come out? After whom do you pursue? After a dead dog? After a flea? May the Lord therefore be judge and give sentence between me and you, and see to it and plead my cause and deliver me from your hand. Now David goes into these things, and basically part of the gist of what he is saying is, for one, two wrongs never make a right, do they? And if I were to have killed you, or I were to attack you in this, it doesn't matter what you've done, that would have made me wrong as well. But that wasn't David. 1 Thessalonians 5:15 says, see that no one repays anyone evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to everyone. The statement's been made, you never have the right to do wrong, do you? Now some say, well, it's legal. Well, that may be true as far as laws of the land. There's a lot of things that are legal. And it seems like more and more things are becoming legal out there, just awful. That doesn't make it right before God, does it? See, His standard's different. And His standard's the only one we should be concerned about. There's a lot of things that we could say, oh, that's legal, or everybody else does it. What's the harm? Well, the harm is, it's still wrong. And what's the harm? Everybody else would do this. If this person did this to me, everybody else would do this thing, It doesn't work that way. I'm told, how many of y'all have heard of the name Marshall Key? You y'all ever hear him speak?
Said Marshall Cable,
Yeah.
heard the name.
Okay. He was a very influential African-American black preacher. Oh, probably back. He died somewhere in the late 70s, I believe, maybe the late 70s. But just an outstanding preacher. And he did more for race relations in the church than any man probably that's ever been. He preached in all kinds of gospel meetings, and the majority of the meetings he preached were in white churches. And of course, you can imagine during that era, 50s, 60s, in the South, that's where he was from. Some of the places he went weren't too friendly toward someone that was his darker skin color seeds. One time I was told that he was up speaking and everything after the service, after the sermon and everything. He comes down and begins to greet people, and there's one gentleman saw him and spit right on his face. What would you do if someone spit in your face? Well, as preachers always did back then, you had a handkerchief in his coat pocket, pulled it out, wiped it away, and said, young man, said, just as easy as I wipe that off, the Lord can wash away your sins. And I'm told that he began studying with that guy, and the guy was eventually baptized. How do we repay someone that does evil to us? Whatever we do, we can't do it with the 12, 14 through 21. You notice how nice David spoke of Saul? That made Saul feel.
It shouldn't have made him feel very embarrassed and ashamed of himself.
Well, I think it apparently did. Well, I think it did at the time. Now he doesn't take him. It doesn't last. It doesn't take it. Say, but he goes on. So obviously it did something to him on the time. Romans 12, 14 through 21 says, bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep, live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty or proud, but associate with the lowly. Never be wise in your own sight. You know anybody that's wise in their own sight? Repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. Think before you do anything. Wouldn't that be a good thing to do? If possible, so as far as it depends on you, live peacefully with all. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God, for it is written, here's our quote again, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink, for by doing so you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Somewhere, I think, in Christianity, we've lost a little bit of this, and that we get so upset, we get so mad, and we want to tell others, about how they do this wrong, do this wrong, do this wrong. And sometimes we need to understand the way we overcome this is by doing good. Maybe we're not as benevolent as a church as we once were. And I'm not talking about just here, but I'm talking about the churches in all the United States here. Maybe we're not as benevolent. Maybe we're not as about as doing as many good deeds as we once did. Maybe as a result, all the other people see us as people that say, you can't do this, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Never see us for the goods that we do. Anyway, what we see is, yes, it didn't take, but we do see that it did do something to Saul, because it says as soon as David had finished speaking these words, because once again, Saul still outnumbered David. And now he sees him. If he wanted to, it could have been a battle. Who knows what would happen. But as soon as David had finished speaking these words to Saul, Saul said, is this your voice, my son David? And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. He did it. He said to David, you are more righteous than I if you have repaid me good, whereas I have repaid you evil. And you have declared this day how you have dealt well with me, and that you did not kill me when the Lord put me into your hands. For if man finds his enemy, he will let him go away safe. So may the Lord reward you with good for what you have done to me this day. And now, behold, I know that you shall surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in your hand. He no longer has visions of his son being the king. To agree he's accepted, but yet we see that he's going to change his kingdom after a while. But it did hit him. It did make an impact in him, what David had done. And so for a brief moment, he has a rational mind and he believes. Swear to me, therefore, the Lord, that you will not cut off my offspring after me, and that you will not destroy my name out of father's house. And David swore this to Saul, and Saul went home. But David and his men went up to the stronghold. I like this, and we're going to end with this tonight. Once again, you know, sometimes we read, and I know a lot of times we'll read things out of the New Testament, and we don't realize that sometimes the inspired writers are actually quoted from things. And I'm wondering, you know, just sometimes you wonder, but, you know, Proverbs 25 is attributed to Saul. Solomon is the son of David. And it makes you wonder if there isn't some bearing on the account of things that David did, especially here where he did good, and if maybe there was some thought of this as the Spirit guided Solomon to write this. But in Proverbs 25, 21, 22, it says, if your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he is thirsty, give him water to drink, for you will heap burning coals on his head, and the Lord will reward you. David did what's right, and guess what? He's going to be rewarded for it. And you know, it seems like this way it is. You know, when your own child does what's right, you generally reward them. Now, maybe we reward our kids a little extra these days and age, but you know, if a kid does good, you know, comes home with a really good report card, or a project they done good and done something really well, or maybe, you know, something good. We reward them. I like what the elementary does. By the way, if you want to watch it, you can watch it Friday mornings on Facebook Live, on their Facebook account. But elementary school, every Friday they do Tell Me Something Good. And they'll play that, and basically a teacher can nominate, another kid can nominate someone, and it's just simple things where the kid did the right thing. And sometimes we feel like we don't get noticed, but guess what? God always notices. And when we choose to do what's right, even in the face of adversity, I guarantee God notices more than anybody. Even if no one else does, God knows it, and the Lord will reward you. Any thoughts or comments about this? Now, we read these things, and you know, oh yeah, that's David, how great. Do you think this would have been easy for David to have done though? You know, David, his heart thought to him. I don't think he was all that far from maybe doing what the men thought he should do. And you know, sometimes you can rationalize things, could you not? You know, this would have been easier for everybody. Everybody knows you're going to be King David. Everybody knows Saul is an ungodly man now. Just put him out of his misery. But it still would have been right to do. And a lot of times we like to rationalize things. I know many years ago in Tennessee, they took up a ballot initiative. It was basically Tennessee's against the Constitution to do any kind of gambling. And of course, as a result, there are no bingo parlors in Tennessee. A bunch in Kentucky, right on the state line, but none in Tennessee because that went to court and they said, no, it applies to bingo, so we can't do bingo in Tennessee, even to this day. But they had a special ballot initiative where they would amend their Constitution to allow gambling, allow the lottery. And I remember hearing a lot of people, Christians even, that said, well, you know, maybe we should vote for this. And, you know, the money is going to go to the schools, is what they're saying. It's going for something good. What kind of logic is that for a Christian? If it's something that's not good, it's something that's immoral, it's never right to do wrong. Doesn't matter what. That wrong is what they're going to do. It's wrong. It's wrong. Any thoughts? Yes.
Not about that, but I did witness a good deed,
Oh.
the other night. We went down to see my brother, but we stopped at Whitney's on the way home to, get a bite to eat before we started back. And, there was, black couple and ahead of us, and then there was a white couple behind him and had two. And, the machine wouldn't take the black man's car, and he tried it 2 or 3 times, and the guy said, well, you got a different car, and he said, no. So they were gonna leave, they started out, and the one in front of me called him back, he said, how much is your ticket? And he said, $19, I think, and he said, I'll get it for you, so the man in front of me put.
You know, that makes you feel good, you know, and I've seen sometimes, you'll see sometimes the drive-throughs where someone will pay for the ticket behind them. And then the person that gets it, sometimes they'll say, well, I'll pay, you know, sometimes it goes on for a while, which is good. And it always makes you feel good when you see someone doing the right thing, doing something good. You know, I'm always amazed, like you see a little kid maybe from a distance and you watch them and you see something that could be a little bit of a troublesome situation and then they do what's right. It always makes you feel good. And like I said, once again, how it must make God feel when even in adversity we do the right thing. Appreciate everyone being here.
And also, we have a need for, some transportation if anyone's willing to, help Coy and Brenda Evans. Of course, Jerry is, down and unable to do some of the things that he normally does for them, so they need some assistance, but, Brenda has an appointment on March the 4th in, Tulsa. So there will be a need there. Coy has an appointment in Fayetteville on the 8th. So March 4th, Brenda, an appointment, Brenda Evans' appointment in Tulsa. And Coy, March the 8th in Fayetteville. Three other things that need to be announced. We remember my stepdad in our prayers. Of course, my mother as well. She's having to deal with a lot of things, and they're up in age. But stepdad had to have an emergency open heart surgery yesterday, the day before the run. The days run together. Yesterday morning, they had to replace the aortic valve and repair some other valves in his heart. Still in intensive care right now, but he seems to be doing better and taking the surgery fairly well. So please remember my family, stepdad, mother, please. Participating in our service this morning, this evening, I've asked Gene Littleton to word our opening prayer, Dale Ashley, our closing prayer. Kenneth Massey will have some songs, and Jim Bradshaw has the devotional this evening. So,
I was just gonna tell them that my brother, I talked to him a little better today, feeling much better, but we don't have results.
okay, we're still waiting on some results of a biopsy.
Results of a biopsy on his lung.
Okay, that's the one. So, Willie Jones. We need to remember him. Yeah, for the Truth Road. 2 blocks road. Okay, anything else?
Carolyn was supposed to move Lily Mae to Butterfield Place in Fort Smith today. I haven't heard anything else.
Okay.
We moved her there. It's close to Aldi.
So Lily Mae's been moved to Fort Smith, and it's
Butterfield Place, it's.
Butterfield Place. Okay.
Assistant.
Assisted living. All right. Anything else? Yeah.
Number 469. Sing number 469. If you will, let's be standing for this song and remain standing for the opening prayer. Number 469. Faith is the victory. Encamped along the hills of light, ye Christian soldiers rise and press the battle ere the night shall veil the glowing skies. Against the flowing nails below, let all our strength be hurled. Faith is the victory we know, that overcomes the world. Faith is the victory, faith is the victory, glorious victory that overcomes the world. To him that overcomes the foe, white raiment shall be given. Before the angels he shall know his name confessed in heaven. Then onward from the hills of light, our hearts with love aflame, will vanquish all the wolves of night in Jesus' conquering name. Faith is the victory. faith is the victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world.
Would you pray with me? Our God and our Father, we approach your throne of mercy this evening, thanking you for all the many blessings that you've come our way. Father, we're mindful of so many of our members who have lost loved ones or who have endured the sickness or injury. We pray that you will shed your rich blessings upon them. Help us, Father, as we strive to maintain a relationship with each other and that we can help out each other in their times of need. We thank you so much for your Son Jesus and for the promise that he was willing to pay, that we might be united with you, that we might have a promise of living in hereafter with you. Bless this congregation of now, Father, particularly the elders as they try to lead the congregation in the way we should go and to do the things that you would have us to do. Father, bless all of those who are teaching and help them to be aware of the seriousness of that responsibility and to discharge it in such a way that will be pleasing to you. Watch over us now and care for us and always keep us in the hollow of your hand. For it's in your Son's name that we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. If you'd like to turn to song number 908, or 908, there's a stranger everywhere. That will be the song after our close of class this evening. Yep. Number 908. And then turn back to number 480. Number 480, Blessed Assurance. Apologize for my hoarseness this evening. You'll have to sing extra loud to sing over me. Number 480. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine. Heir of salvation, purchase of God, born of His Spirit, washed in His blood. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, perfect delight, visions of rapture now burst on my side. Angels descending, bring from above, echoes of mercy, whispers of love. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, all is at rest. I am my Savior, and happy and blessed, watching and waiting, looking above, filled with His goodness, lost in His love. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long.
Good evening. Good crowd tonight, always good to see. Haley told some, Haley at work reached down to pick up a piece of paper, heavy piece of paper apparently, and tweaked her back a little bit, but hopefully it's nothing major, but she took some pain medicine and is resting. Busy times, and I think it's good to see. An active and busy church is one that will accomplish lots, stays out of all the problems that you generally associate. Love to see all the things we're doing. You know, if we never do anything more as far as the actual program of lads and leaders, but we just do the things we're doing right now, I think it will be well worth it. And so, hopefully anyone that's interested in the public ministry, please be here, and I'm sure there is more than enough work for all, and it will be, I think, a rewarding thing. So 5 o'clock Sunday. I know yesterday the ladies had a ladies' night. I think my report was about 10. Is that right? Something like that. Okay. So it was a soft count, but anyway, something like that. But it may have been somewhere thereabouts. But I think they're going to try to do that about once a month. And different people come change who's puts it on, and so I think that will grow, and that is, I think, a good opportunity for ladies. You know, we have a ladies Bible class, and that does a good job, and it is great. But you know, there are many ladies who have no ability to either work or other things, may not can do things. So I think that is a good thing. And, guys, we will meet, I guess, about 6:45 or so, I guess, here in the parking lot to try to carpool. So if you're interested in going to the men's breakfast, it's always good fellowship and great food, and especially when it's not our chance, we don't have to worry about it. We just get to show up and eat. So we generally do that. So if you're ever curious about what we do, come and we'd love to see you there. How many of y'all are anxious? How many of y'all have anxiety issues? It seems like, my mom always called it, nerves. She always nervous. But we think of it as anxiety now, and I didn't realize till I was older that, I suffer from anxiety from time to time. And sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. And probably all of us have had times when we're just worried about things, and a lot of times it's things that we have no control over. I will tell you, there was, you probably heard the expression, the rat race. And shortly before James Taylor was born, we was living in the Atlanta area. And of course, Haley, since she's not here, I can tell a story. We wound up in Cartersville, Georgia, because we was looking for a place to stay. We decided when we first stayed in an apartment because we was moving, had a short period of time to do that. And I was going to be the manager of an engineering firm in northern Atlanta area, Kennesaw, Georgia, and so we looked at different places, and it was so congested. We went up to Cartersville, Georgia. The first thing we saw when we went there was a Walmart. So Haley said, "That's where I want to live." So that's where we lived, in Cartersville, Georgia. And so anyway, I had about, if traffic was okay, I had about a 45-minute drive. There was times it took me 3 hours to get to work when traffic really backed up going into Atlanta. And it was just a rat race. You was always in a frenzy. I think that it was so odd because everyone was late. Even people who liked to meet early, there was times they'd be late just because in Atlanta you never knew there'd just be traffic just out of the blue coming up any time of day. Well, anyway, one morning I was running late to get to the office, and I was one in charge, so I knew they didn't do a lot if I wasn't there. And so I was running late, just like, it's kind of like clockwork. I always parked my truck in one place. It was a big 4-wheel drive truck. I parked it in one place, and Haley parked it in a totally different place. And so I always keep my truck, and so I got my truck, and it's just kind of like clockwork. You just back up and turn the wheel and just go, And I was late, and I was in a rush, and I backed up, turned my wheel, started to go. And as soon as I heard this awful noise, I knew what it was. Haley's normal parking place, this apartment complex wasn't there, and so she had parked next to my truck. Now my truck's set up high, and normally you really have to look to see a vehicle on the side, and it was a nice car. She loved that car. It was a Mazda 626. It was one of the nicest cars she'd ever bought at that point in her life, and it was fiberglass. The reason I know is because when I got out of the truck, the whole side of the car was just gone. my steel bumper. Didn't do anything to my truck, but it just demolished her. I tell you, I just sit there for a while. What am I gonna say to her? What am I gonna do? And I'm still late for work too, mind you, and I'm like, and so I get up enough nerve and I walk up to the door. And I didn't actually use my key, I knocked on the door. And Haley opens the door, and she looks at me, she's like, like, what's wrong? She thought someone had just died or something, what's going on? And I told her about car. And it turned out it wasn't as big a deal as I had in my mind, it was okay. The insurance, and things. I was a little bit later to work than I planned, but it worked out. Jesus says in Matthew 6 and verse 25, says, therefore, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, or about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air, they neither sow, nor reap, nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more valuable than they? And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to his span of life? And why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is alive, tomorrow is thrown into the oven. And will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Therefore do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the Gentiles seek after all these things. And your heavenly Father knows that you need them all. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Therefore do not worry, be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Have you noticed that things in nature don't worry about things like we do? We worry about how we're going to make it tomorrow. Maybe you've got a test tomorrow if you're one of the kids. Maybe you've got a test tomorrow, or some homework that's difficult. Or maybe you've got a difficult thing at work tomorrow, or you don't know how you're going to finish this or do that. Or maybe you got a bill to pay and you're like, I just don't know how I'm going to make it, or how we're going to do this, or how we're going to do that. And we worry. Jesus points out you need to be more like, the grass, the flowers, the birds. I'm amazed. My dogs, we like to open up our back window and where you curtain and see there. And there's squirrels that love our tree in our backyard. And guess what? Our dogs don't like the squirrels. And as soon as they see the squirrel, they go out running. And that squirrel will wait almost to the last possible second, and then it'll just run up that tree. And then dogs just barking and running around that tree, barking, and that squirrel's just up there. It's like it's making fun of them dogs. It's like, well, you can't get me here. I'm not going to stay here a while. Them dogs just bark. And, I think it's all antsy, I guess, but they squirrels, whatever. At some point, they even kind of come down and run across the fence, whatever. Then our neighbor's dogs get on and say, be nice. We need to live our lives more that way. There are things that we do need to take care of, that we can take care of, but there's so many things that we have no control over. Why should we ever worry about them? Peter writes in 1 Peter 5, verse 7, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Literally there, that's talking about our distracting cares, the things that consume us that we can't do anything about. Those things, we should give them to the one who can do something. Simply go out to God. Let him deal with them. Trust that everything will be okay. Scripture says we walk by faith, not by sight. We should be able to trust God. I know it's not easy, but it's something that I think as our faith matures, we learn more and more to do. Maybe you're here tonight, maybe you don't have that level of trust yet because you've not decided to dedicate your life to God. You've not put on Christ in baptism. You've not had your sins washed away. Oh, it'd be wonderful if you did that tonight and begin that new life where you can start trusting in God. Maybe here tonight you have fallen in some way. Maybe you have lost sight of God. Maybe you've lost faith in some way. Why not return to God and begin to trust in Him? You have you need it all. Come down, let's go to this thing.
There's a stranger at the
Father, we pray that the lessons that we've learned here today will be a benefit to us